let's transition here. Let's transition to not influencer boxing, but more just our continued coverage of Paul American. I think you wanted to do some more Paul American talk because episode 2 just came out.
Yeah, bro, talk to me, dude. Come on, man.
First off, we got a lot of, I wouldn't say hate. We got a lot of people being like, how could you like this show? And I'm like, how could you not? It's peak American reality TV. I think that because we've built an audience that is mainly a split between American and UK, they love their American, or they love their reality TV, but it's like Love Island, Sidemen Inside or whatever, this is like completely, literally foreign because Americans are so abrasive. That's what it is. Like, you're not used to abrasive, outwardly like dogmatic, get the dictionary out, Greg Paul level psychos.
Right. Yeah.
So episode 2 starts off where episode 1 left off.
I want to say this though. I appreciate it more as a content creator from the behind the scenes. Like seeing them progress as a content creator.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a fellow content creator. I'm like, wow, to see them do that, knowing that like the same circles, like I feel I was very close to it.
Yeah.
So it's different, not just like watching it as a spectator, like I'm a fan of the Pauls, like like I was never a fan of their content.
We're watching it as a means to go, like you get to see now what you and I see somewhat behind the scenes and don't really talk about because, it's not really our business, And
I was a part of like that.
Yeah. The growth
that era.
The period. Yeah.
Of like Team 10. I'm like, oh my God, LA when Deji and him with the Walmart
Crazy.
thing. I'm like, I was there. You know what I mean? That's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, so it's for me, it's the seeing the growth of it to seeing what they're doing now then seeing the behind the scenes stuff when I've got to see it in person but didn't get all the information. Is cool,
I don't think we expect people to be like, oh yes, we're now Jake and Logan massive fans off of this. Like, you knew kind of what you're gonna get, but you also get to see some stuff you don't know about. But
the real side of it.
Yeah, the kind of the more real side. Episode 2 starts out and Nina's pregnant.
Yeah, man.
Holy shit. You've been through this as well. The entire.
I know. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, I can't believe that. That's crazy.
She tries to put the obviously the pregnancy test in the Prime bottle. They have to like cut it out. Didn't get out of that. I was like, damn. Trying to plug Prime, still the bottle wasn't working. But that has to be a whole ideal like crazy thing. And then they don't want to tell. They start telling other people again. Mama Pam melts my heart because she's like one of the first ones they tell, and she's so happy. And it just reminds me of my mom. Like, I know my mom's going to react like that. I know she is.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too.
Your mom react that way. So that was cool. And then, of course, listen, if I'm going to be honest, we are watching to see. I knew there was going to be a cameo at some point. Yes. I thought I was. I didn't know, but I thought episode 2, we get the Way Concept cameo. I actually have it. I don't know that I'm allowed to show it, but fuck it. You know what? We get demonetized. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
This is, by the way, someone fat boothed me on Twitter again. No reason for this.
It's like scary accurate. Like, this is exactly what you would look like.
It's not accurate. This makes me look like. Have you seen that new Netflix thing? Not Gossip Girl. Gone Girls?
No.
There's this guy that apparently, dude, you have to watch it. He killed like 15 people in Long Island over a period from, they think, like 1990 to like 2016. Yeah, bro. Jesus. And he was just this regular guy that worked at an architecture job that would, like, when his family went out of town, he'd go and, like, get these girls that were sex workers and kill them. It's crazy. Anyway, I hate to say it, but he's like this 6'8", fat, blubbery man, and that guy that you see that is not me kind of looks like him. It's bullshit, dude. Rough. I'm not the freaking Gone Girl killer. Anyway, just, why you have to fat booth me? That was on my announcement thing, too. Like, oh, big announcement. And then they just put the wide plim. The fuck? Anyway, this was me reacting to, that's the 1,000-inch screen TV. Y'all don't have that. Reacting to me as part of the show. First reaction was, fuck this guy. I don't want him.
Yeah.
So, my first on-screen, big screen appearance is me saying, fuck this guy, which is awesome. But so I had a little bit more to say later on in the thing. But
man.
This is cool. I didn't know what they were going to use. Obviously, it sells better to talk about Jake as the villain. Right. And to be honest, that's how I thought. I think it's how a lot of people thought when they first were introduced to Jake boxing. Like, fuck this guy. I don't need to be a part of boxing. Why is he doing this,
Facts.
Disrespectful. So there was my debut. How did you think I did in my little segments?
Bro, great. Because you told me, I realized after, I was like, it's an interview thing. So I didn't know how it was going to be shot. But I'm like, oh, no, this is dope. Like, it's like a very official interview.
Talking
like,
head.
A part of. Yeah, it wasn't like, it felt like very, like, involved in the production.
Yeah.
Not like just like a quick little interview on the side. Like, you know what I mean?
So now that it's out, I can kind of say we did this in the Amalie Arena. I don't think you were there for... the Amalie Arena is not where we did Creator Clash 1. It's where we did Creator Clash 2. Jake fought Mike Perry in the Amalie Arena.
Okay.
So, like 2 days before the fight, I got a text from a number I didn't know saying, hey, we're with, they said HBO, but HBO Max, whatever. Do you want to do a sit-down interview for this documentary that we're going to do on Jake? And I went, sure, I don't know. That sounds cool. So they do the press conference. That day, after the press conference over, Wade, meet us up on the whatever floor. We'll have an elevator, da-da-da. So I'm up in, like, the rafters of the place. And when you watch Ariel Helwani do his interview, it's kind of in the same spot. But, yeah, so this was at the arena the day of, and we sat there for, like, an hour. It was pretty cool. I don't know if they're going to show any more because they haven't even – in episode 2, we don't even get to the Mike Perry fight yet.
Right. It ends with – I forget – what does it end with?
Like, it ends with just essentially teasing this big-time – gender reveal thing for Logan.
Right.
And then he does SummerSlam, I think is what it was. And then they show Logan's SummerSlam appearance. And then they want to hide the announcement from Jake, and then Jake guesses it essentially.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you what you thought about that. I thought that was pretty cool, that whole part.
Yeah, the whole like wrestling version of the gender reveal thing was pretty. Oh wait, that's next week actually. No, it's next week. But
like
Logan being a better version of like what you would think of an actual brother. You know, like the thing he gets ragged on.
He was super nervous. That was even he was shocked, and like this family and Nina were like, he's so nervous to tell Jake. Yeah. Like he was so excited and anxious, like
pumped.
Actually see him to be like actually nervous, not just like playing a part. Like he's like, oh, I got to tell Jake, and also to see him kind of like get bummed out that Jake guessed it.
That
like,
Jake revealed it before he could.
He wanted to do this like very special thing, which we don't really see him. That was very different for Logan. You know what I'm saying?
He was real.
Yeah, like he wasn't that way for his mom. Like for Jake, it was like a very big deal for him to like make it very special.
He had the belt, and he was like, "I want to show you the belt." Yeah, it was.
Jake guessed it, and he was like,
"Let me do it anyway." Like he's
yeah, man. I thought that was pretty cool. I'm like,
that is cool because you get to see again what you expect Logan to be, you know, to a degree, and then. When you don't see that, when you see the stuff on the podcast and you see them kind of having this rivalry, you're like, oh man, what?
Yeah, I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to be like more showy. Like he was like, all right, now like,
and like, now I got to like in the camera. And now I got to tell Jake.
Yeah, exactly. Like him like being like, I'm super nervous.
Yeah.
And then generally bummed out when Jake found out, and then Jake was like, oh, all right, and he was like. Still kind of bummed. I was like, oh, that was cool to see.
That was good to see. That was cool to see.
And you don't get that unless you see it in this kind of show. You don't get that kind of stuff.
There was a point in the show where Logan talks about how he thinks Greg Paul will change because he's having a granddaughter. Yeah. And I looked at it and went, yeah, okay, you know, and I think it will because they're smoking weed in Florida.
I know.
I didn't know Greg lived in Florida. I thought he's got a place in Florida smoking weed, like doing the whole thing. There's one point where Greg, because it's close to Christmas, that's what it is. They're moving really quick. It's close to Christmas, and they show Jake fighting Andre August and then fighting Ryan Borland.
Yeah.
And Greg shows him like some Christmas lights of the Grinch, and he's like super proud of it. And Logan's like, that's what you showed him? Like, it's like the dumbest, like complete disconnect between the two of them. But then he's like, I hope Greg changes, and he's not just this complete psychopath and he keeps calling him Greg, which I still find weird. Like, what the fuck, dude? It's so odd. But he's like, I hope this changes, Greg, and you know, in a good way. And I'm looking at it like, yeah, for sure. But I can already see it's changing him.
Yeah, for sure.
Like Logan, it seems like at least is a little bit more, has an ability to be around and like not as business snappy minded about like even the Greg thing. Like you see him hanging out with his dad, and that's great. And you see him like happy to talk to his mom and like being an actual person with Jake, and all this stuff is like, damn, this is awesome to see.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that through the show, and I think Logan's gone ghost on socials for the most part. I mean, I'm blocked on Twitter, so maybe he isn't, but he might. I think he's still gone ghost a little bit, and he's really obviously leaning into fatherhood, which you can speak to more. It's like it changes everything, man.
Yeah, man. I feel like Logan's somebody who like really cares about performing well. He's obviously said that. It's why he's so successful, right? And I feel like because of a bit of turmoil with him and his own father, like him feeling like he's performing well as a father is very important. And I think just his desire to feel like he's successful in that will end up turning him into a really good dad, because he's going to be like, dude, I feel like if somebody calls him out, or if like, let's say his mom or Jake or someone doesn't feel like he's performing well as a dad, would be worse than anything else. Because I feel like even though he may not realize it now or expect it, like that's going to be the one thing that he's going to want to make sure he performs the best at. I think honestly because of the relationship with Greg and how he feels like his dad could have been a better dad or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I think he's going to for sure take on that, like, I got to get this right and I got to do it really well.
Yeah.
No, even like in a selfish way, it'll turn out to be, I think, a good thing.
100%. And I think parenthood usually brings out the best qualities in you trying to, like, it changes people. I mean, again, I wouldn't know it firsthand, but what the fuck? But it changes. I don't know what the fuck that was. It changes people. You can't show that, Brendan. That was crazy. Somebody just like has a penis costume on my Twitter. I don't know what that is. It changes you for the better, I think. And it seems like that's the case.
It can. If you have a, like I said, desire
to
perform well, you care about like your performance in terms of how successful you are in things, and then that gets turned into fatherhood, and if fatherhood is important to you at all, and you care about that. Some people, it's like, I want to be successful at this, and like they kind of like blank out the fatherhood part. But because here we are, I think this shows a perfect storm. He's getting like the limelight to him. People are going to be like, how are you as a dad?
And that's like, crazy to put it on camera, pressure, bro. Yeah.
Which I think is great for someone, because dads need that, but parents need that. When they don't have that and you can kind of get away with things behind closed doors and you don't have that kind of accountability. I mean, to have that kind of accountability, like with like the internet is going to be judging you.
Yeah.
And Logan's that type of person that will try to rise to the occasion. Like, no, I can do it. I think that's a perfect storm for good stuff.
You heard it here first, folks. Sensei wants you all to have a camera on you while you parent, okay? He's gonna implement surveillance cameras in your homes, ladies and gentlemen.
Accountability, dude.
No, for sure.
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss.